Good evening, happy Wednesday. Welcome to Live in Conversation. Today is Wednesday, the 29th. I am live with my co host, attorney Daphnée Camilien. Hello, Daphnée.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. So, we are live in conversation every Wednesday to share not only news but also information that pertains to our everyday lives, as well as when a situation is concerning so those of us who are from Haiti or different part of the world, we want to bring it to light. So this is live in conversation with attorney Camillion of Camillion Law. So we discuss immigration laws, different type of news, and then so today and particularly we are discussing part two of the Haitian migrant crisis. We discussed that last week, but then we want to maybe talk about some of solutions and potentially kind of like what's new today. So Daphne, let's start with for disclosure.
Sure. So I am, as Daphne Renee had mentioned, I am an attorney, and this podcast is for information purposes only. It does not establish any type of attorney-client relationship. Renee is a financial entrepreneur. Any discussion of finances is for information purposes only. It does not create any type of fiduciary duty with you guys. So if you want to reach out to us individually, she'll have that information. And yeah, that's it. That's our disclaimer for the evening.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, just as a recap, to those of you joining us live, please share this live. So last week, there were about 14,000 Haitian migrants. Not all of them were Haitian, but then the majority were of Haitian descent who were gathering at the border of Texas seeking refuge, seeking asylum status in the United States. And then so based on what we were seeing in the news, they were not being welcome. Some of them were being mistreated, and right now the numbers is saying that around 5,000 have been deported back to Haiti. And so the concern was, I guess that decision is based on policy under the previous administration that stated that there is a national health crisis and therefore we cannot welcome refugees due to that health crisis. And then so obviously because of international laws, when a migrant is seeking refuge, they are entitled to being heard prior to being deported. So Daphne kind of like maybe add to some of that background, and then we also gonna discuss what is immigration bond, maybe briefly asylum, even though we talked about like that last week. And then at the end of the day, this conversation is to is to basically for us to understand what is necessary right now, how as we as a nation can welcome our neighbors who seeking refuge, and the ways that we can help them.
Yeah. So just some of the things with uh, parole. I'm saying parole. Some of the things that have been going on with deportations is that and some of the things, the reasons that people should be allowed to at least apply for asylum. And asylum, once again, is what you're allowed to apply for if you feel that you're being persecuted in your country. And asylum is international law; it's not just U.S. law. And basically, to start off, the deportations since September 19th, there has been 50 deportations. Uh, and there was deportations of Haitians continues. It has not stopped. Yesterday, there was 6 flights. Today, there was 7 flights. As Daphne Renee said earlier, there's over 5,000 people that have been deported back to Haiti. The last information we heard from the deportees was that once they got on the plane, they were COVID tested. So Haiti hasn't had they've had COVID-19 in Haiti, of course, but and it was not it has not overtaken the island. But to send 5,000 people back, and we're not hearing any information. If these people are being COVID tested, are they saying none of these people had COVID? And then if they do have COVID, are they, being quarantined, or once they're released into the country, we don't know what's happening. Um, and can Haiti absorb these people? That's the other thing. It is their own people, but do they have the proper infrastructure to absorb them back into the country all at once? So those are just some of the concerns coming out right now. The issue with not allowing them to file for asylum is, or even going through the process, is wrong. If people say that they have a fear, a credible fear of going back to their country because of persecution, they should be heard and they should be allowed to apply for asylum. So there are reports that a lot of people have been released, as they want to say. I don't know. We know that some people have been. Some have, but there's also a lot of people right now that are in detention centers that are being processed. So they're deporting people, and the people that are being processed in detention centers, as of I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, they said it was another 5,000 people. So what that means is that they're trying to see if these people have a credible fear to be able to file for asylum, and if not, they're going to deport them too.
Awesome for sharing that. So right now, kind of like maybe explain to those of us who are not familiar with the legal, I guess, with the legal structure, kind of like the legal way that the US welcome immigrants in kind of the process. So what now? So some have been deported, like we said, around 5,000, and some have been maybe allowed the opportunity to seek asylum. So what does that look like, and what is the potential chance of them even receiving asylum and being able to live here and to work here?
So, um, so let's see. The process is not, and that's what people should understand. Like, asylum is complicated because it just is. Like, you have to prove that you have that fear. There's only certain grounds that you can file for asylum. There, on top of that, you have to prove that you actually have a fear. Just saying it is not enough. You have to provide evidence. So that's oftentimes what can be difficult, and people oftentimes don't understand the asylum system, and I think that makes it also more difficult. But a migrant's journey is, if they go through, so there's a couple ways, right? Let's say someone goes to asylum, goes through an immigration official, and they process them, they look them over, they say, okay, you have, we believe that you have a credible fear. We're going to release you to, your aunt. My favorite examples are Susie. So let's say Susie and John in Florida, right? So then what happens to these people? Well, they have 1 year to file for asylum, right? And so they have 1 year to file for asylum, right? So let's say they're in Texas, and they tell the asylum person, okay, the asylum person, they don't just release you to anybody. They have to vet who you go to, but they allow you to go to Susie and John in Florida. So Susie and John have to find you transportation to Florida. They send you to Florida. Your case has to be moved to Florida court. Sometimes they put ankle bracelets on these people, like house arrest, like what happens to criminals who are fighting a case, and they have to have an ankle bracelet. It's a similar concept. You're pretty much, except they're not confined to their homes, but it is like a tracking device, right? That stays on their ankle. They have to check in with a USCIS officer, oftentimes once a month, once every 2 months, whatever is determined. They will have to go to court. All of this is while they're to see if they've already, like, they'll be given a date. They'll go to court. to see if they've filed for asylum, right? Once the judge sees that they filed for asylum, they filed the application and started the process, another court date will be given. More than likely, they filed the application and started the process. Another court date will be given. So, okay, so more than likely, that other court date will, it could be 6 months from, or a year or 2 years, just depending on where you're at, because some, the other court date backlogged. So it really just matters where you are, like where you are in the country. And everywhere in the country is backlogged. Let me start off, but some places are worse than others. So you'll be given a court date, and then you have to start getting all your evidence together. But during this whole process, like I said, you will be checking in with your USCIS officer. Another often question is, can you work, right? Well, yes, you can work, but you have to wait 1 year from the date you filed for asylum. So asylum can take a long time, right? So if your case ends up taking 3 years, and you filed, today is September 29th, if you filed for your asylum today and you received a notice in the mail saying that they received your application, and the notice date was, let's say, October 10th, right? October 2021, you could not file for work authorization, right, which allows you to go ahead and work until October 10th, 2022. So, and there are there are exceptions, there are certain things going on, but that's the general rule. That just changed. That's not how it used to be. So you actually have to wait a year while you're fighting your asylum case in order to actually work. And, a lot of times people want to work, they want to be able to contribute to their household and live a life. So, yeah, it can be often very difficult. Once you go to asylum court, once you go to court, that's how it works. For the most part, there's other ways also you can deal with. Like I said, asylum is complicated. Immigration can be complicated. There's so many exceptions and so many different situations. If you're in a detention center, your situation, you don't have an ankle monitor, and you don't have to check in. You're literally in a detention center, which is very similar to a jail. So you have to, you have to wait for your hearing. You have to try to get an attorney, someone, hopefully you have family that you're able to contact, and they can put money on your books, to allow you to make phone calls. But yeah, it's very much like a jail. And so you wait for your hearing. You still have to file for asylum. So you'll have to get, either you do it in your detention center, or you get an attorney to help you, and they do it for you, and gather evidence and prepare yourself. And when every court date you have, we're now in COVID time, so more than likely all of it's through Zoom. But before, they used to take the people who were in detention centers and take them, bus them to court, and they would show up before the judge. So it all just depends on how you do it. Some people don't go to a judge, they go to an asylum officer. So it just depends on the way you came in, how it's processed, how that first person that you presented to saying that you're going to file for asylum, how they checked off your paperwork, on what they call a notice to appear. There's so many steps and layers to this, so I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but I just want to say the process is complicated. It's not that when they say they release people, it's not like, they're here, they're free, they're doing whatever. They're still very much under the control of the government. They still have to check in. They still have to, if they move, they have to report it. A lot of people will have ankle bracelets on, ankle monitoring on them. They still have to show up for court, and they still have to file their asylum application. So there's many things that have to be done before they actually get asylum, before they could actually go for the final, what they call individual hearing, and the final time before they file for asylum. And asylum can take years, and in fact has been taking years. So It's a complicated and kind of like a long process.
Thank you for clarifying that, Tony Chameleon. So, for those of you who are joining us, this is live in conversation. My name is Daphnée Antoine. So, I am the founder and president of Compassion for Transformation, where we work with our partners in Haiti to collaborate on entrepreneurship, employment, and education initiatives. So, our conversation is it's geared towards the current um like migration of Haitians from different part of Latin America and Haiti to the US. And so there was a lot of, I guess, press coverage in regard on how the Haitians were being mistreated, as well as there was mass deportation to Haiti. So Attorney Chameleon and I are sharing light on that, but also we are going to talk about what has been going on, specifically in the Haitian community in Chicago. What have we been doing, as well as how all of us can raise our voices and help our neighbors. So I'm just gonna give a quick shout out to some of you who are watching. Mr. Gerald Daye said hello, and how are you both? Hello, Mr. Daye. Thank you for being a supporter. We appreciate you all always here. Mr. Daye is the founder of the Evanston Haitian Festival, where he does it every year. So we appreciate your commitment to the Haitian community in Chicago and everywhere. So Miss Dariana Vertis has a question. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong. If they have family here who can vouch for them, it makes sense. I'm sorry, it makes the process quicker, right? Do you see that, Attorney
Yeah,
Camille?
I do see that question. They have to be able to get in touch with their family, right? And yes and no, right? They have to vet the family. So if they release the family, if they release you to the family, you have to be you have to be a green card holder or a citizen. Um, so that goes into an account. You know, that's taken into account who you're being released to. But yeah, it does. You're right. It does. If they qualify, it does make the process go, because that's what they're looking for. Do you actually have a person here, right? And that's willing to accept you. And if not a person, is there a church? Is there just someone willing to kind of vouch for you? Where they can know where you're at.
Thank you for that question, Dariana. I hope it was answered to your satisfaction. So please continue to ask us questions. Continue to share this live, especially because it is important for our community. And now we are going to be speaking about what has been happening in the Chicago community, and exactly how all of us can help. Before we do that, Attorney Camilin, anything you would like to add?
No. Go ahead.
You know what I found surprising about what you just shared with us? I did not know that people who are seeking asylum have to wait 1 year prior to apply for work authorization. This, I mean, obviously, I'm not a immigration attorney, but then
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is news for me. But also, it's like people are seeking refuge. People are saying, okay, I'm leaving this country because of lack of economic opportunity, because of insecurity, and then now to potentially come to the US and say, well, you cannot work just yet. I found that shocking, and especially right now there's a shortage of workers.
And the thing is, it was changed in the last administration. It was not like that before.
It was not. Do you
Yeah.
know of if there's any, I guess, advocacy to change that right now?
There is, and there are some. They should. There's exceptions, and there's ways to kind of get around that. If people are under a certain type of classification. But I would tell someone to seek some type of either immigration attorney or clinic. But yeah, it's but then it's even the if somebody is under a different classification, it's the shortest time, I believe, is 6 months, 180 days.
Yeah.
So, but like I said before, it wasn't like that. Um, and also before, under the last administration, they kind of changed the way they did asylum, and it was like first in, first out,
Mhm.
meaning that if you came and applied for asylum, this is all changed. If you came and applied for asylum, they would immediately process you, which is they put you to the front of the line, and then they were like deporting people quickly. Versus before, you got in line with everybody else, and whoever was ready to, whoever had been waiting and it was their turn, they would just process them. But they kind of flipped it all. So, um, things are changing. But we'll see, because the U.S. wasn't necessarily prepared for what's happened. So we're gonna have to see too, but see how many people they've already deported. 5,000 people. So that's 5,000 people that we don't believe had the opportunity to even ask for asylum and to go through the process. So we don't know, and they're still deporting. So we don't know how many more thousands are gonna go back.
And then so while you said that, so I was just in the interview doing the it's called the Progressive Mind Show, and then so there was one representative there from a, I would say an African organization. I will share that later on today, and she mentioned that how obviously of the 14,000 now is being said 17,000
Right.
of migrants who are in the border. So of the 5,000 that's being sent to Haiti, not all of them are even Haitian. So some people who is not even Haitian has been sent to Haiti. I found that to be shocking.
It's shocking, because before a country will accept someone, they have to verify their credentials, and they have to accept it. They can't just say, okay, these 50 people, here you go, you're in a plane, and they don't know who they're accepting. So that is horrible.
Hmm.
That is, I hope that whoever that's happening to, it's getting rectified, and that they
Hmm.
are brought back to the US.
Yes.
Because I mean, but every year, unfortunately, every year, um, I don't know the numbers, but people get deported that are American citizens every year,
Mm.
which is
No, that's wrong. That is wrong for sure. Okay, so now let's talk about what has been happening in the Haitian community in Chicago. So various organizations have been raising our voices and standing up and calling an end to the mass deportation. So not only because of the current economic crisis in Haiti right now, as well as in the insecurity. But you mentioned also there is COVID-19, so which means that Haiti fortunately has not been as negatively impacted by COVID-19. But if you are sending over 5,000 people to Haiti without screening them, without without giving them an opportunity to get the COVID-19, that can potentially change things COVID-19 wise for Haiti negatively. So I mean, I can have you start, or I can start kind of like what has been happening in the Haitian community in Chicago, ways that we have been calling a stop, and what are we looking for, and what are we demanding right now.
so there's a couple things. There's a bunch of organizations, Haitian American organizations, that have formed together to create a Haitian American coalition of Chicago. And one of the things that we're asking for a couple things. I'll just start, and then I'll have Renee finish. Is that there's been reports that we're going to have millions and millions of vaccines that are going to be expired. So one of the things that we're asking is to just offer the vaccines to the people who are here, um, these migrants, and to see if they are want to take the vaccine, to benefit them, to benefit society. And also, if we don't want these people to be deported, but at a minimum, they should be offered the vaccine. So I just, I mean, Haiti has had tons of issues before. Years ago, UN officials introduced cholera into the country, which was devastating. So I would hate for this to happen and bring all these people back, and then create a problem, a massive COVID-19 problem in the country, and we have all these vaccines that are just going to waste that could stop it. So. Um, I'll start with that. Renee, you want to talk about some of the other organizations or what they have going on?
Yes. So right, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can't see
You
you.
can,
We can hear you.
you cannot see me. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh wow, awesome, awesome. Thank you. So right now, so the letter that the open letter that's been published by the coalition of Haitian organization in the Chicagoland area. So what's being demanded right now is an issue of an immediate executive order to stop the deportation of the Haitian migrants, as well as you mentioned, people are coming here and they've already spent all that they have or most of what they have, and then so to be able to seek asylum and they're not receiving any legal aid, that can hinder or negatively impact the chance of receiving that asylum. So they are also asking for legal services for the migrants, pro bono legal services. Obviously, for people who may not have relative here or who may not have a direct contact. So for some humanitarian support, such as food, clothing, shelter, and healthcare. And for people who choose to receive the COVID-19, they then that can be offered to them as well. And you and I was spoken about the temporary protective status that has been granted to Haitians of non status. Correct me if I'm wrong of how I'm saying it.
Mhm.
Since July, and it was expanded, I believe, in August. And so kind of maybe some compassion to add the current migrants into that pool. And so those are some of the demands from the various organization in the US, I'm sorry, in the Chicagoland area. If you want to maybe add anything or supplement onto what I just explained.
Yeah, Chicago. We're working on compiling um, a list. So we'll see. We're working on compiling a list, seeing how of social services, of legal services. There are many organizations, not just Haitian organizations, who have expressed an interest in helping out the migrants, and so we do anticipate that we're going to get some migrants in the Chicagoland area. We know that there's a couple that have already come here, but stuff migrants that actually have the need of don't like for example if they don't have shelter, there's churches that were willing to provide shelter. There's people that are saying that they're willing to host them. So there's been an outpouring from the Chicagoland community that wants to help them. So we are, and lots of people are prepared to help. So yeah, it's just a matter of getting them here and moving, just getting them here and getting them through this process.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you for sharing that. So, for those of you watching, again, welcome to the live in conversation. It is a program where Antoine Camilien and I have a live discussion every Wednesday, depending on what's going on in the news or in our community, family wise thing that matter to us. So obviously the Haitian migrant situation is what is of need right now. So that's what we are sharing it with you. So please share this live. Let more people know of what is going on, so more of us can be aware, and so more of us can take actions. So whether that be raising a voice in calling all elected officials, or even work find out different type of organization that will potentially be able to help the migrants coming. So that's what we are looking for. So Attorney Cameron is working on a resource list. So if you or connected with any organization, or you connected with a church, or you connected with any social services program, let us know so we can know that once we are given a chance to help the migrants coming in, then we can know who to reach out to. So reach out to us, share this live so more people can know of how they can help. So the good thing is, we mentioned earlier of how different people have been raising their voice, which I can honestly say, and correct me if I'm wrong, or you can let me know your thought about that. The fact that you and I, or in other people, not just you and I, but different organizations, different people have been in the news, letting people know of what's going on, calling for a stop to this. Would you agree that that has been slowing down the deportation rate?
Um, I won't say that. What I
You
will say, I won't say that because um, I don't want to
more
say
needs to be done.
it's not just more needs to be done. What the positive, it's done because deportations still are happening every day, and it's
Mm-hmm.
still like 6 or 7 flights. So if it's 100 to 200 people per flight, you know, it's over, like it's over 1,000 people. So especially these last couple of days, what I will say is I think all the uproar has allowed people to be released.
Mm-hmm.
So although they're deported, and so we don't, and also we don't know the criteria. We don't know why they would deport certain people, but at the same time release other people. And so but regardless, the ones that are being released to go ahead and apply, allow the people who are allowed to apply for asylum. I mean, there's been reports that said it's been 12,000. So I do think it's the efforts of, lots of organizations, lots of people speaking out, and saying how, you have also politicians, and you just have so many people saying that this is wrong. That they were trying to quietly release people. So it hasn't, so it's just strange, right? So they haven't stopped deportation, but they've released people. So I think that's been everybody with their everybody speaking their voices, and
Go to the map.
I think it's been and that's what we got to. Renee's showing the recent pictures where we got to go to the Rainbow Push Coalition and participate in a press conference. That's Renee and got
Yeah,
to.
so yeah, we were at the Rainbow Push Coalition. And also we had a press conference and peace rally as well this past Sunday,
Yep.
where various organizations from not only Haitian organization but different organizations come together and say, okay, let's put an end to this. This is wrong. Let's give people a chance to claim asylum and to be able to prove that they need this assistance.
Right. And so I would say, like, the positive for sure has been the release of these people, right, that are being allowed to go through the process. Um, and I do think that's collectively all of us getting up and saying, no, we're not allowing you to do this to us, because these are our brothers and sisters. But the work that needs to be done is just that hopefully just finding a way to get them to stop deporting people.
And for those of you who may want to see the full press conference that was this Sunday,
We're going to get started with prayer.
it was here.
From
It's here on Daughters of Haiti Chicago page. You can see it. Okay. Let me stop that. I'm sure you cannot hear the sound. Were you able to hear the sound?
A little bit.
A little bit. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you can go to the Daughters of Haiti YouTube page, and you'll be able to see the full press conference and be able to see like what's being requested and
Go to
all
the
the
farm.
and all the people who are. Did you hear that?
Yep. It's sound effects. It's sound effects.
It's only that. Okay, all right. I mean it's 9:05. I know we've been sharing a lot of information with you, and that's because so you can be aware of what's happening, and then so that you can know how we can help. Because at the end of the day, These are our neighbors. These are our brothers and sisters who are coming here, and the only reason that they are coming here is because of the lack of economic opportunity. It's because of the insecurity. It's because of going back from 2010, all the major earthquake, all the major different natural disasters, as Antoine Camilien pointed out, of the cholera outbreak. And people only leave their country because they are in dire, desperate situation. And again, some of them have spent money that they could have invested in Haiti. Like they could have had thriving businesses with that amount of money, but because of the situation in Haiti right now, it's hard for them. And then so that's why they have invested all or mostly most of that they have to be able to go through this journey. So we are calling for a little bit of compassion from our elected officials. We are calling for compassion from you, who is our neighbors, who's basically maybe leaving this country and who's not sure as to why does that matter. Why should I be compassionate? Why should I let them in? It's because at the end of the day, we are all humans, and refugees deserve the right to seek asylum. It is international law. So let's be compassionate in in help. So that being said, is Jennifer is here. Hello, Jennifer Torres. She was at the the peace rally this Sunday. And Jennifer actually worked with an organization who directly works in Haiti. And then Jennifer, feel free to type it. I don't want to incorrectly say her organization name, but she is a awesome advocate of Haiti and of Haitians. And then so yeah, thank you for showing solidarity. We appreciate it. She sent us her love. Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. Anything you want to add as we are wrapping up, Daphnée?
No, I think you said it. We're just ask. I guess one last thing is, I think the people of who are in this situation are just asking for fairness, right? No one's
Yes.
saying that the government has to, what I should say, has to grant them asylum. There are laws and there are rules. We're just asking that they follow the laws and the rules, um, and treat them fairly, like they would treat anybody else from any other country who came here and sought asylum. Just follow your rules and give them the opportunity. If once you give them the opportunity, you come with a determination. Everyone has to live with that, but at the same time, follow your rules.
Give people a fair chance.
Give them a chance, right?
Definitely. Yeah, so Jennifer is part of the Children Place International. They're doing amazing work in Haiti. So again, this is another organization who is supporting Haiti and who's in Haiti doing the work. So if you want to get in touch with them and see what they're doing and see how you can support, feel free to do that. Jennifer has been in the Haitian community forever now.
Yeah.
Okay. I can vouch for her. So, with that being said, this has been live in conversation. Thank you to all of you who showed up, who asked questions, who commented, who shared. We appreciate you. And just yesterday, Jennifer was talking to me about the Young Center. So basically, what the Young Center does, and feel free to add on that too, Jennifer. So some of the unaccompanied minors
Right.
who come to the U.S. So now they are on their own. So they need people who can advocate for them, obviously with the consent and with understanding what they want to do, whether they want to stay, whether they want to leave. And then so as they're going through that process, they need uh people who can volunteer with these children. And by volunteer, maybe especially if you on in a country by yourself as a child, you may need people that you want to speak with. And so if you are multilingual or bilingual and you are interested in volunteering with the children, feel free to, I guess it should be youngcenter.org. And Jennifer, feel free to type the website as well. And then so they are looking for volunteers who can interact with the children so they can have direct contact with someone from their country who speak their language, who understand them, and who can potentially advocate for them. So the next training is in February. So if that's something that you want to do, whether you speak French, Spanish, whatever language you speak, uh, contact the Young Center and see how you can be of assistance to the many unaccompanied minors who may need some help. So again, so the website is www.theyoungcenter.org. So please share that. Even if you can't, by sharing it, you are doing something. So maybe somebody else who have the time but then doesn't know the information, you can be the bridge to share this information so that we can help the children, we can help our neighbors, we can help people who are looking for refuge. Because if we were to be in that same situation, we will want someone to help us. And definitely financial support is needed as well. Thank you, Jennifer. You're amazing. Let's wrap it up. Would you agree?
Yep. Yep.
Awesome. So this has been live and conversation. We appreciate the support. Um, Join us back again next Wednesdays. We are live every Wednesday at 8:30, where we share different knowns and different information to help all of us thrive. Again, my name is Daphnée Antoine. I am the founder and president of Compassion for Transformation. In conversation with my lovely co-host, attorney Daphnée Camilien of A Chameleon Law. In case you did not see, on the scrolling is attorney Camille information. So in case you may need her assistance, feel free to reach out at 847-410-9022. Again, that's 847-410-9022. And her website is www.chameleonlaw.com. Bye for now. See you all next Wednesday. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye bye.